Hey guys, how's it going? So I don't know how old you are as you're watching this, but if you were born and are old enough to have lived through the 70s, there was a point in time back then when people used to really customize their vehicles. There was this whole crazy move where engines were huge and they'd fiberglass these fenders on and all this kind of stuff. So that's what I've decided I'm going to do with the Jeep. I've got a bunch of fiberglass here and I'm going to start sculpting a crazy looking tub out of this thing. And no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. I'm working on the Sailboat. So I do have some fiberglass mat here, and here's what happened. I discovered that I think I've been thinking about taking the Sailboat up to Seattle, and I got up there the other day and was looking at the front of it, and it had cracked on the joints where I re-glassed the fiberglass panels that I pulled up. I kind of pulled the roof, the top deck up in a couple big pieces, and when I glued it back down, I didn't fiberglass across the joints. I thought it would be okay. It was not. So it's cracked. One piece was bulging up. So I've dug all that out. I've been up there and sanded it all down. And I've taken some of this woven mat here and filled in the square hole. I'll walk you up here and let you have a look at it. So I'm about to see if I can't get a section of fiberglass and resin all over that whole top deck. So let's go have a look. I should probably address the logic of my decision to take a 1969 22-foot sailboat that really has no value anymore and spend all this time on it. So let me explain. See, I bought this thing when I was going through a really emotionally and an emotionally challenging part of my life. And I kind of have this tendency to get stuck in my head, and I think things over and over and can't really set things aside and just deal with it. So I bought this sailboat, and it was sitting on the Great Salt Lake in a slip up there when I bought it, and I was working out by the Great Salt Lake. So I could get off work in 10 minutes, I could be at the boat. 10 minutes later, I could be putting the sails up. And 10 minutes after that, my brain was calm, and I was able to kind of process the day's events and not internalize everything so much, because I was internalizing, I think, all the feedback from the boat, the wind and the feel of the tiller in my hand and the angle of heel and what the water was doing and the taste of the salty spray in my mouth and the odd brine fly that I wound up eating. But at the end of the day, what it boils down to with this thing is I just have a connection with this boat that kind of doesn't make any logical sense. It's not worth really anything from resale value, but it doesn't cost me anything too. Right now it's sitting in the driveway. It doesn't cost me absolutely a dime. It will if I take it up and put it somewhere up in Seattle, but small price to pay for the ability to get out and do what I love on this thing, which is sail it. It's a fun little boat to sail, and it's easy to sail one person on it. I only ever took people sailing pretty much once with me on the Great Salt Lake. Most people get scared when the boat starts to heel. Other people just didn't like the flies and the spiders. There's a lot of spiders out there, but potentially, if I get it up there in the Pacific Northwest, maybe it'll be a little different and people will actually want to come sailing with me. So be that as it may, whether or not they do or not, I want to sail this thing again. So I'm going to continue on, and I'm going to get it back to a point where I can dunk it in the ocean and not be worried about going to the bottom. Okay, so we're up here on the top. This spot right here is where I first did my first exploratory surgery when I was trying to figure out what was going on with the deck, and that's where we discovered there was the balsa coring underneath there that was all rotted. So these whole sections here, I took these up in big pieces, and you can see my joints here, and they cracked. So what we're going to do, I've pulled the stanchions off the sides, I've sanded everything down. I'm going to lay a sheet of fiberglass down across the whole deck, and then repaint it and put the non-skid down here. I think I'm gonna have to do that up in that area as well, and then right in the center is where our mast step goes back on there. So that's what we're gonna work on. I have that heavy mat that's braided, and then I have some smaller woven stuff that I'm gonna kind of put over that. So I'm gonna do some fiberglass work. I've started on this job 3 or 4 times, and every time I get going, then it rains on me. I have to stop real quick and cover everything back up. But looks like we're gonna get through the evening without any rain, so I'm gonna see if I can do that. All right, well, it's Saturday morning, and I think, getting ready to head up to Seattle. But before I do so, I wanted to have a stroll outside, jump up on the boat, have a look at it before the sun gets clear up over the house and roast my brains out. So let's go see how our job turned out. Okay, so I knew about that spot up there. I gotta trim that back, and I got one little hair sticking out here, a little trim back. But overall, I think this will work. This will get filled in with fairing compound. We still have a little bit of a low spot here where our hole was, but that'll also get filled up with fairing. But yeah, it feels really good. And I think we're sufficiently waterproofed now that I'll just leave this open like this while I'm gone. All right, well, I guess this will be a test of how well my resin and fiberglass job holds up. Keeps the poor old girl dry because it is raining like coming down in buckets. Man, this looks like a lovely day. All right, well, I've done all my prep sanding here, sanded back down, at least the top part here that I'm really worried about getting a good bond to, back down to the filler and the epoxy where I filled in. You can see, if you look really close, you can see some of the holes that were there for the mast step. So I've got my last sheet of fiberglass fabric here, and I'm gonna cut it because obviously we don't want it folded over here, but I'm going to put 2 layers on, and I'm basically going to do just what you're seeing here. So I'm going to go from down here, get into my heavy matting up there well past where the mast step is going to go, and I'll be back into the area between where the hatch slides are. So really should strengthen this chunk up a bunch here. So let's do that. All right, well, that didn't take too terribly long, so here's our finished product. Everything's wetted out nicely, and I did go down on the foredeck there and put one more little coat with the remainder that I had left in that little low spot. I dribbled some around a couple of the edges up there where I'd gotten a little high with that mat. It looks like I got one hair from the brush in there, so I had run out of acetone, so I wasn't able to clean my roller. So I thought, well, that'll probably be okay. That thing was hard as a rock. So luckily I gave up on that, and I had an old paintbrush. So I think I got a hair off the paintbrush here and there, but this will all cover with fairing compound anyway, and then paint, and then we'll be good. So yeah, luckily I waited for the sun to go behind the tree a little bit, so it does get me some little bit of shade here once that sun gets down past that point. So yeah, that job's done for now. So the next pass, I've got the fairing compound, so I'll have to give this 24 hours, and then I'll tear into it with a little bit of that, and I'm going to go upstairs and look at paint right now and see if I can't get some of that 2-part primer, at least the epoxy primer in a can that I can mix up and roll on and do the roll and tip thing. But yeah, if I can get a coat of paint on here, at least primer, then I'll feel like I can leave this thing for our big vacation trip. So Gray and I are getting ready to take off and go be nomads for a couple weeks in that thing. So got to be prepared. Got to get this at a spot where I can leave it. So yeah, that's kind of the plan at this point. So I will wrap this for now probably and come back when I'm doing some fairing compound.